Sometimes I feel like filmmaking gear is the most stupidly overpriced stuff in the world. Like, have you ever filled up an online shopping cart with some batteries or maybe an ND filter and a couple of memory cards and then realized you were already into the thousands of dollars? I mean, my camera is worth more than my car, and even though it's definitely not the fanciest car on the road, it's also not a piece of junk.
What a piece of junk!
Why can't there be anything useful that doesn't make me feel guilty when I hit the buy button? Well, actually, there are some things that are genuinely helpful for filmmakers that cost less than $100, and in this video, I'm gonna get into 10 of them and what I use them for. So whether you're trying to build out your kit with high value stuff or trying to buy something nice for that special filmmaker in your life, here are 10 things I use all the time that won't break the bank. Hey guys, welcome back, and if you're new here, my name is Luke Forsyth, and on this channel, I teach the skills I've learned over 10 years working as a documentary filmmaker and photographer. Okay, there's a lot to get through in this video, and I don't want to waste any time here, so I'm just gonna get right into it. The first thing on this list is something I got right at the beginning of my filmmaking career, before I was even being hired as a DP, and I've used it on every single shoot for the last 10 years. And that's an AC pouch. I got this when I was mainly working as, surprise, an AC. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's film jargon for a camera assistant, and these pouches are designed to carry all the tools needed to support a camera team. Things like Allen wrenches, or a blower, or Sharpies, a knife. A good AC pouch will hold it all. And even if you move on from working as an AC like I did, you'll still use these tools all the time, so it's a really great long-term investment. I use one from Waterbags, but there's lots of other options out there. Just make sure the Velcro is good and that it has a loop on the back to run a belt through, because most ACs usually hang these things from their hip all day. This is the smaller version Waterbags make, and I think it's like 47 bucks, but there's also a bigger one that's 95 or something, so both under the $100 limit. For me, the small one is the perfect size, but if you have a lot of tools and want some extra capacity, you've got that option. Get one of these early in your career and never think about it again. And once you have one of these things, you're also gonna need the tools to put it in, and that's where the next thing comes in, the multi-tool. Multi-tools are so common on sets that a lot of people just have them permanently holstered to their belts. A decent multi-tool should have at least a knife, some pliers, a flathead screwdriver for tripod plates, ideally scissors that can actually cut, and a serrated knife is also useful. This one is made by Leatherman, and I'm sort of breaking my own rules here because this particular model costs just over 100 bucks, but that's because it has the special interchangeable hex and screwdriver heads, which are nice to have, but not essential. The slightly lower end Rev and Sidekick models have all those basic tools, but they're far enough under the $100 limit that you could actually buy a separate set of Allen keys and still be under that $100. Next up is a weird piece of gear that I've mentioned before on this channel, but I almost never hear talked about online. We've all seen sandbags holding down heavy lights or stands on film sets, but when you travel like I do, they're not really practical to carry around. The best solution I've found, other than renting sandbags locally, are these guys, Waterbags. It's exactly what it sounds like, a bag of water with some attachments on it so that you can hang it off whatever you want to secure. When you get to set, you fill them up with water from a river or a tap or whatever you have access to, and when you're done, you just dump them out and throw them in a duffel bag. These ones are made by Westcott, and I'm honestly not even sure if anyone else makes them. A set of 2 of these is about $85, and they've saved me a bunch of times in remote locations when the wind is picked up and all my lights start shaking. Okay, so the next up is all about communication. Radios. This might seem like a weird thing for a filmmaker to own, but there are countless situations where these are worth their weight in gold. Like if you're filming anything where you can't be near your subjects, but you still need to give them directions. Maybe you're filming rock climbing like I've done in Mexico, or you're filming a driving scene from another car and need to tell them to turn right. Or if you need to shoot a shot of someone from across the street and have to give directions or tell them to walk faster or change positions. Maybe more usefully, radios are great for crew-to-crew comms too. Like if you need someone to grab something from the vehicle, or if the camera and director can't be in the same spot for some reason. Radios will make all these things much easier. I have a slightly more expensive model than the ones I'll mention because 1, I bought them used off Facebook Marketplace, and 2, I needed mine to be super rugged, but you don't have to spend much to get some decent radios. I know Motorola sells a pack of 3 of their TP200 radios right now that's on sale for just 65 bucks, and unless you're using them in some seriously rough conditions or need them to reach through thick doors and walls, they should be more than good enough for most filmmakers' needs. Whatever brand you get, just make sure they have a few different channels and ideally an antenna that looks like it won't snap off easily. Moving on, let's go back to the water theme for a second. I don't do proper underwater cinematography because that's an art form all of its own, and if I need incredible underwater footage, I'll hire a professional. But sometimes I need to be able to get the camera wet, like filming people swimming or getting a boat footage with a bit of water in the foreground in front of the lens. For those moments, I use a Decapack. Honestly, it's just a fancy plastic bag with watertight seals and a screw-on cap and then a couple of weird little finger holes, but it's actually pretty good at what it does. It's not for diving, and I definitely wouldn't want to submerge it for any length of time, but when I just need a few unique water angles and I want a better image than I can get from a GoPro, these are really great. You might not use it all the time, but at $85, they don't cost a fortune and they open up a ton of new shooting options for your mirrorless camera whenever you need them. All right. Bypassing the halfway point now, hope you're still with me. Let's move on to the realm of lighting for a minute, which is crazy because film lights and cheap are almost never used in the same sentence. And if they are, it's probably because it's only gonna last you a year or two before it dies. No matter what, you're not gonna get a decent key light for under $100, but there are a couple really useful lights that are worth owning. Like these two guys, both made by Aperture. These things aren't gonna give like Rembrandt lighting on an interview subject or fill up a dark room, but they are still useful, like surprisingly useful, especially when you just wanna augment existing light rather than create a whole artificial look. This one is the B7c, I think it's called, and it can fit into any standard light socket. It also has an internal battery from when you can't actually plug it into the fixture. It's RGB and connects to your phone via Bluetooth, which means it lets you switch out any light bulb in the world for one that you can fully control. Anyone who's ever tried to shoot in a horribly lit kitchen or a bathroom or something will know how useful that can be. This one is the MC, and I mainly use it to enhance off-camera light sources like campfires or TVs, or maybe to replicate the glow of a phone screen. It's got a bunch of built-in effects, which mimic a lot of different situations like cop cars, fireworks, flickering light bulbs, and because it's so small, you can stick it on a Gorilla Pod and pretty much get it anywhere. I use this a lot, like way more than I thought I would when I bought it. I think the bulb is around $70 and the MC is about $90, and if I only had to pick one, I'd probably take the MC because it's a bit more generally useful, but they're both super handy to have around. Sticking with lighting for a second, the next thing on this list is for modifying light, and that's a big piece of Duvetyne. I'm actually using my piece of Duvetyne right now off camera to get a bit more negative fill on my face, but if you've never heard of it, it's basically just really, really black cloth that absorbs a lot of light. In film, it's used all the time to block out windows, provide negative fill, or to stop light from bouncing off something and then back into the shot. Being able to control light, not just add it, like during an interview setting, for example, is really important in filmmaking, and Duvetyne is the industry standard at blocking light. I'm pretty sure it also became used a lot in film, not just for blocking light, but because it wouldn't catch on fire when they were using a lot of tungsten light bulbs that would get really hot. These days with LED lighting technology, we don't really have that problem anymore, but Duvetyne is still the way to go when you're thinking about blocking light. I always travel with a piece of it in my bag, and I've used the same piece literally hundreds of times. A decent one will cost around $90, which is a lot for a piece of cloth, I know. You can save some cash just by going to a fabric store and buying black felt, but the professional ones have tough seams, so they don't rip easily in the field, and then a bunch of grommet holes for hanging them or tying them down. So it's nice to have, and it's never gonna go out on a date. But if you're on a serious budget, just get the felt and you will get most of the way there. But wait, you said hang them. What are you supposed to hang them from, you might be asking? Well, these guys, a Matthews reverse stand. I'm sorry, that was a terrible transition. Please don't click off this video. I can do better, I promise.
You can consider this my retirement from comedy.
Obviously, light stands aren't just used to hang out modifiers. In fact, they're not usually used to hang modifiers at all. They're mostly used to hold up lights or maybe a boom pole. And for small teams or filmmakers who travel, I haven't found a better stand out there than the Matthews reverse stand. The strength to size ratio is crazy, and it can even handle my Aperture 300D key light with a 40-inch softbox, which is pretty impressive for something so small. And because they fold back on themselves, they're shorter than other stands that are comparable in weight capacity, so they fit really easily into a duffel bag. They cost $94, and they're the stands I used 90% of the time. C-stands are definitely better for really heavy loads, but those things are super heavy and not good for traveling at all. On the occasions when I really need something burly, I'll rent a C-stand, but usually I have 4 of these in my bag and they cover me almost all the time. All right. we're almost there, just a couple more things. And this one isn't gonna do much to make you look cool, but it will make shooting way easier. And that's some sort of belt and pouch system. If you don't already know this about me, I have a serious pouch fetish, but I swear these ones are worth it, even if they're a little bit dorky looking to wear in public. The obvious reason they're helpful when you're shooting is because they hold a bunch of extra stuff that you can access with one hand. I've got, I think, 5 different pouches that fit onto this belt, and depending on the situation, I can bring extra batteries, 3 lenses, and all my lav mics on my waist, which is really great if you don't have a bunch of assistants around to hand you stuff all the time. But beyond carrying capacity, and maybe why I like wearing a belt the most, is it creates a stable shooting platform at hip level where I can rest my camera when I want a different angle. Like if I'm shooting a bunch of people sitting at a table, for example, I don't have to kneel down to get the camera at head height. I can just rest it on one of these pouches and save my knees. This isn't as needed when you're shooting with smaller cameras, but as soon as you get into big cinema cameras, it can be a real blessing. On bigger budget shoots, they sometimes use a special system called a hip shot to do the same thing, but that's around $300, and this does it almost as well. To stay under the $100 price tag, you can probably only get 1 or 2 pouches plus the belt to start, but the good ones like this one from Think Tank are modular, so you can add to it over time as you need. Just make sure the belt itself has a really good buckle, because if it comes done with all your cinema primes on it, you will not be happy. In my opinion, Think Tank makes some of the highest quality belts out there, and if I lost this one tomorrow, I'd replace it with the same thing. Okay, so last on this list is a system that's been around for quite a while, but has only really been mass produced for the last few years or so, and that's one of these guys. An Ultralight Arm System. These systems go by different names depending on who makes them, but they're basically just ball and socket pieces with a bunch of different end bits that you can mix and match depending on what you need to grip. Maybe you need one end to be a NATO rail and one end to be a 1/4 20, or maybe you need a 1/4 20 with 3/8 16th, or whatever the bigger screw is called. Or maybe you need 2 clamps like I did when I'm trying to attach an umbrella to the side of a tripod in the rain. Or maybe it's not long enough and you want to extend it, you can do that with one of these extension arms. Pretty much any mounting solution you can think of is doable with some combination of these pieces, and when you clamp them down, they're surprisingly strong. I'd say the most common use for these is probably to mount monitors onto your camera, and the range of motion is pretty much unlimited, so when you're trying to adjust a monitor, it's much easier to get it in the right position than most magic arms. So if you want to start building out a kit for yourself, I'd probably start with some sort of monitor combination. Like 2 1/4 20 threads, or maybe a NATO to 1/4 20, depending on what kind of rigging capabilities you have. The original version of these was made for attaching flashes to underwater cameras, I think, and only one company made them for the longest time. But now other companies like Wooden Camera and Small Rig are getting around the copyright laws somehow and making their own versions. I personally have the Wooden Camera ones that are amazing, but honestly, they're probably overpriced, and I'd suggest probably going with the Small Rig ones to start. Like I said, 1/4 20 to 1/4 20 is probably a good first set, but if you have the ability to use NATO rail on your rig, this might be a bit more stable. I've got a whole bunch of these things of all different sizes, and I can pretty much solve any mounting problem by rummaging around in this pouch and mixing and matching a combination of attachments. A basic set of the Small Rig ones is about $50, and it goes up the more pieces you add. Super helpful. Okay, so there it is, 10 items for under $100 that you'll actually use as a filmmaker. I hope you found that video helpful, and if you did, like and subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff so I can keep making these. I really do appreciate it. And if you did like that last video, you might like this other video I made about how I put together my ultimate AC tool pouch. See ya.